Well, happy Wednesday, everyone. I wanted to come on here and we're going to do our first ever listen and learn event. And I have a special guest, Tony Simon. We apologize for being late. I kind of had a tech issue. And so I'm still trying to figure this stuff out. So appreciate you guys tuning in. And so with me, I have pound for pound, the world's largest gun bunny. And so Tony is offered to come on here today to kind of talk about, what he does, where he's from, his history, and stuff that he does in his state. We're wondering how we can kind of implement it in our state. So go ahead and kind of tell us about what you do.
All right. My name's Tony Simon. I'm in Jersey. And what I started doing was regular advocacy work back in 2012. Um, went background from Virginia. I'm from Virginia, born and raised in the country, born and raised in an environment where everybody had a firearm, joined the junior ROTC in high school, was on the actual competitive air rifle team. So we shot in school. It was just another sport. There was nothing taboo about it. It was just something to do. Joined the Marine Corps, did the Marine Corps thing, uh, got out, moved to Jersey, and that's when insanity began. Just the rules and the laws were stupid. They didn't even follow federal law. Jersey had a thing that you couldn't touch a gun in the gun store unless you had a firearms ID card. I'm like, wait a minute, I should be able to dry a firearm. I should be able to buy a firearm in every state, right? The long arm, right? It should be legal as long as the long. Oh no, not here. No, you can't. You can't even touch one. I'm like, what? So that was the stupidity here. And then I found out the rules about what's needed for a firearms ID card, and it just turned me off to the whole thing. I fell victim to exactly what they wanted. It was too complicated. It was I needed to have this paperwork done, my fingerprints taken, going down to the local police station. I needed to um, what's the word? Wow, references that weren't related to me. I'm like, how do I find people that aren't related to me that will give me a good reference if I just moved here? Like, it doesn't even make sense. So that put me off. Fast forward 20 years, I developed friendships, and one of my friends was into firearms, and he became a firearms instructor. And I was like, yo, I want to get guns too. Hold on. So I got my Ruger 1022 because all I wanted to do was get back into just target shooting. It was relaxing to me. I learned that when I shot air rifle, that it was the breathing, the focus, the all of that was just like a really cool thing, kind of like gun yoga, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you have to focus and then you get your breathing and then you break the trigger. So that's what I did. So I got a Ruger 1022. I went to the range 14, Fort Dix, and I sucked. Did I suck? Oh, I was freaking horrible. Ego got trashed. And luckily, my friend was just starting out with his training, and he was like, "Hey, I'm hosting a class, dude. Want to come in?" So I left for the range that Friday, shooting groups the size of a pizza box at 15 yards. It was horrible, dude. At 15 yards, it was all over the paper. Like I was not consistent with anything. Like all the rules, everything I learned out the window. Took his class Sunday. Range opens back up first day Wednesday. I go back to the range and I'm shooting groups the size of a friggin' postage stamp. 10 shot groups, 15 yards. I was
Nice.
like, dude, this is the greatest thing ever. I want to do this for other people. So I went to Anthony Calandro's Gun for Hire range in Woodland Park. I got my certification in rifle, pistol, shotgun, and range safety officer. I just did it all in 1 week. Uh, got all the training and hung out my shingle because I was going to be the greatest firearms instructor the world has ever seen in
You
2012.
and me
What I
both.
was Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, baby. And my whole point was just to teach people the basics. I figured if you got a good foundation, there's a crap load of other people you go to build upon it. But the foundation was paramount. And then Sandy Hook happened, and New Jersey the same day started talking about 80 something bills they had in the pipeline that they were putting out that day. Well, and I was like, wait a minute, nobody wrote 80 something bills today. No, they didn't. They had these already in the pipeline, and this was how I got into the Second Amendment fight. Sean, my friend, who introduced me to this in the correct way, he said, let's write a letter. So we did. So we spent 6 hours composing a letter that wasn't too preachy, but gave facts. Um, and it was pretty concise. We figured out how to do it in like 2 to 3 paragraphs. Like boom, this is our statement. This is how we feel. This is what can be done to stop these things. And we put it on Facebook. And it was the first time I actually used Facebook. I'd maybe signed up for Facebook 2 months earlier.
Yeah.
And we got 15,000 likes on that thing. And just the reach was ridiculous. And it went viral. And that's when we started our activism in 2012. By
Wow.
2015, I was frustrated. I'd already testified. If you go to Simon Says Train and look at some of my videos, my favorite videos, there's a video of me testifying for the very first time in front of the assembly. As an individual, I wasn't in part of any group, but I'd gone to the meetings of different groups and saw who was running them in Jersey, and I met them. But I went and spoke on my own, and I was so nervous. I can't tell you one word I said. I know I said my name. Outside of that, I have no idea what I said. I was that nervous, and thank God somebody videoed and put it up, because without that, I wouldn't know what I said that day. But that's what got me into it. In 2015, I was frustrated enough to actually start the Second is for Everyone at Gun for Hire range. I'd gone and testified for the second time, and I realized there were nobody that looked like me there. There were no Black gun owners representing. All the people of color were with the red shirted mommies talking about how guns were bad. And I'm like, well, there are a lot of us, because by then, 3 years had gone by. I trained lots of people. I'd been to the range and done lots of range time. I'd taken classes myself, including law enforcement classes. And where are we? Where are we to be represented? So I talked to Anthony Calandro, who's now a board member in the NRA, but he said, host it here. He said, host it here Thursday. So I had like 2 weeks to come up with an event, and we hosted it. We had 4 people show up, including, and then it was infiltrated by the state police. It was February 2015, and it was called the African American Month, I think. African American Month Diversity Shoot. And I don't know if they thought it was some kind of militant thing or whatever, but there was a state trooper that showed up dressed in civilian clothes, looking like he went and got a haircut and said, hey, I'd like to look like the officer that gives you a ticket. And he tried to play himself off as a regular dude. Wow. And I only knew 20 people online at that time. And I'm like, well, hey, how'd you find out about it? Oh, John. Who's John? On Facebook. I'm like, bro, I only know 25 people on Facebook, and I don't know one guy named John. So who sent you? Oh, I'm with the state police firearms division.
Wow.
I'm like, cool, because we want information. We have these guys here. Can you answer questions for us? And he did. And he had a STI double stacked. He had a 2011 STI 2011 and 45 ACP. And
Wow,
we proceeded to go to the. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And we proceeded to go to the range and shoot all of his ammo.
Oh, sweet.
And we had a great time. But that was our very first event. We only had 4 people attend. And I was disappointed because, again, it was new Facebook to me, and Facebook events. And like 27 people said they'd come up from all over, and only 4 showed.
Yeah.
Anthony Calandro said, you're going to keep doing this until this room is packed. And we did. And we started doing it every other month since 2015. 2020, because of COVID, the range is shut down. And a range in Pennsylvania called the Heritage Guild reached out and said, hey, Pennsylvania is wide open. You can host events here. So we actually set it up. So we hosted at the Heritage Guild every month. Good. So it was amazing that we went from every other month in Jersey at one range to hosting it every month at the Heritage Guild in another state. And then another range opened up in Jersey and was like, hey, we don't fall under the COVID rules. We'd like to have you here. So now we were doing two ranges during COVID shutdown. So people were coming out and we grew a little bit. And then COVID ended and we got into two more ranges. So now we're hosting events every 2 weeks.
Nice.
And the Nebraska Firearms Owners Association called us up in 2021. It was like, hey, we'd like to fly you out to host one here. And that was my first one in the Midwest. And now next week, I mean, on the 23rd, we're scheduled to be in Kansas to host one, being done in coordination with the NRAILA. And we're going to be in Nebraska again on the 23rd to host one with the Nebraska Firearms Owners Association. So it's grown. This is all
Nice.
grassroots. It's not a charitable organization. It's just me. Like I told Derek, I'm starting the paperwork now to actually become a 501c3 because I'd assumed that the money would start rolling in for each event to pay for the next, but it's happening so quickly that the money's not getting cleared. So it's like, yeah, it's time to go actually official so we can get donations, so we can apply for grants, so the money can be there at the beginning of the year. So I don't stress hosting an event to raise money for the next event so we can have the next event. Because as you know, that can be stressful.
Absolutely. It's a really nasty thing that we have to do to continue to move our organizations forward. And, stuff that really stuck out to me in that first section is you talked about your testimony, right? So, everything that we've started to do this year is we had people, writing testimony, they're submitting testimony, they're also testifying, remotely or in person. And so our legislature had never seen that before. And typically it's going to be the red shirts that show up, like you said. And so now we have this group we're coming together. We're trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. And obviously, being from New Jersey in Oregon, we're very, very fortunate until, the last session or two, we've been able to have whatever gun we want. We've never had any kind of restrictions. We've been very, very blessed, which allowed us to get complacent, living in New Jersey. Can you talk about that? I mean, you have to have a revolver. You can't have anything over 10 rounds. I mean, what's that like?
All right. Again, I'm from Virginia, so it was culture shock coming up here and finding out what kind of Stockholm syndrome the people in this state suffer from when it comes to their rights. And it's like, what? Yeah, you can only have 10 rounds. That happened in 2019, 2018. I was there testifying against that one too. And that changed. When it comes to ARs, I have to have a fixed stock. I have to have a compensator. I can't have a flash hider. I have to have no bayonet lug. So you can imagine how ticked off I was when I made an M16A4 clone and then had to have it bastardized. I'm
Oh,
like, it was a great company. Because I introduced people to firearms at diversity shoot. I didn't really say that. I introduced them to Second Amendment groups, and then we introduced them to firearms after a safety brief. So the more guns we can introduce people to, I think it's the better because it opens their eyes up to see there's more than just an AR-15. But you want to bring your cool guns too. And I built an A4 so people can, one, see what a military rifle actually looks like. Two, having that long rifle gas system doesn't kick as much. And it's a simple, fun gun to have. And then to find out I had to get rid of the A2 flash hider, pay like $90 for a BCM a comp that looks just like an A2 flash hider and have it pin and welded on and had to pay for that. Then you have certain guns you can't have. So when the staccatos come out, you have to buy a 2011, but it has to have a 10-round magazine. Well, the thing's already $100 for a mag. New models you can't get. When something comes out with a 12-round mag, you have to wait until someone produces a 10-round mag. It's a lot of frustration that happens. I had some classic CZ75 pre-B models. Well, no one makes a 10-round magazine for a pre-B CZ75 from 1990.
no.
So I'd have to purchase a magazine for like $40, then find someone to pin that magazine to 10 rounds. And I can't use it for anything serious because the pinning of it could mess the magazine up, and now it's not dependable. it's all what you have to go through in a state like this. So when we were fighting, because again, I've been in the fight since 2012. When we were fighting, and people online would go, just move to a free state, and we're like, there are no free states. This fight's going to come to you. So now people in Oregon, people in Washington are learning. No one, your state does not stay red forever. People move to your capital. When California, because of their horrible business practices and everything else in politics, when the companies leave, states like yours go, hey, come to our state. We have better this, we have educational opportunity, we have all this. Well, you're going to get the liberals that come with it that created the policies that they're running from. And that turns your state blue. They bring their policies and their beliefs with them. And now all of a sudden, your Second Amendment rights become under attack, slowly but surely. We've watched it happen in Nevada. We've watched it happen in Virginia. And it's just continually happened across the country. These people have a utopia that they can't afford to live in anymore, and they run and infect other states with their disease of boot-licking lackeyism, where they somehow believe the government is going to take care of them, including keeping them safe. And they attack the firearms issue. And now you're stuck doing stupid stuff like trying to buy as many magazines as you can before the shut off. And everybody thinks they're going to get over it. I'm like, they're just going to come up with a new law that gets rid of grandfather. And when they pass that law, any of your 30-round magazines are going to be illegal, because they did it to us when they went from 15 to 10. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, yeah, your 15-round magazines are illegal. And as someone who used to describe themselves as a law-abiding citizen, it's like, yeah, I'm a law-abiding citizen, but one of my 15-round mags fell in my sock drawer and I didn't know it. So I'm clearing all of my 15-round mags out, and a year later, after, oh, by the way, it's illegal to have it, it's illegal to destroy it, it's illegal to drop it off somewhere. Pretty much, it's just, what am I supposed to do with this thing now that's illegal? Because I found it when we were packing to leave, and I'm like, had a panic attack. Like, what? Oh my God. Oh my God. And I was like, one, no one knows. I'm in my bedroom. But I'm freaking out because I thought I was a law-abiding citizen. Now, this whole time, I had something for over a year that was illegal, that would get me 18 months in jail just for having a mag. And I'm like, you know what? I'm a responsible gun owner, dude. I haven't done anything with this mag.
Yep.
I thought it was gone. It was empty. I wasn't loaded. Why am I panicking over some bull crap they made up? F you. Now, I'm going to abide by the law as far as anybody on any podcast ever is concerned. I'm following the law because I'm not ridiculous. I'm not going to come out and go, oh, my cold dead hands, I'm never going to comply. I won't do that. But I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong except this thing fell into a drawer and I lost track of it, because if you own guns and if you run and shoot in competition, you have more than 3 magazines. You can
Absolutely.
lose track of the number of mags you had. And I freaked out. And this is what's going to happen in every state if we don't, as citizens, stand up and push back against this ridiculousness. And it's not going to be one party, one gender, one anything that saves us. It's going to be us all. It's going to be, and it has to be, we the people, because that's how the system was set up. So, and I totally understand that you get frustrated. And you want to say things like libtard this and that. And I'm like, but understand, a Democratic lawmaker is not going to listen to a Republican voter screaming libtard, but a Democratic lawmaker will listen to a Democratic voter who went, I don't like the way direction you're taking this party. My Second Amendment rights are very important to me. And come primary, I'm not going to vote for you. If there's a Second Amendment pro to a Democrat, I'll vote for him. And when people say that's not true, I'm like, no, it's true, but you have to take control of your party. It's incumbent upon Democrats to take control of their party. And if they don't, it's going to get hijacked. But there's always Libertarian Party. But understand, when you go third party, both of the established parties will attack that third party and not let them be heard. And that's the difficult part. So I think we have to attack the system at all levels. I think Rebecca Schmoy shows us what to do. She's in the 59th district in Kansas, and
Yeah.
hopefully I'll be seeing her in a couple of weeks. She is a Second Amendment advocate that started 1 Million Moms Against Gun Control and against gun control as a counter to Moms Demand Action. And they started that. She started fighting on her own, started her own grassroots, and then she joined the DC Project, which is another Second Amendment organization ran by my friend Diana Mueller. Um, and then Rebecca decided that she was going to run for an empty seat. The Republican has stepped down in her district, and she said, "Who's going to run?" And they said, "We have nobody." So she stepped into the breach, and she won. So now we have a definite 2A advocate that's a politician, and she supports our rights. And that's what we're going to have to do, because that's what Bloomberg and Soros money is doing. They're buying local elections. They're propping up people locally to attack our rights from the local level because they lost on the federal level. They racked nothing but L's up on the federal level. So what they're going to try to do is take our rights away locally, and they're going to finance it, and we have to fight back. Many of us, and I've had the conversations, go, why don't we have a pro 2A Soros? Why don't we have a pro 2A Bloomberg? And I'm saying we don't need one. Because once you start taking people's money, you have to pretty much go according to their schedule, their script, and their priorities. I think it's better for us as regular people to finance the groups we believe in and control the groups we believe in at a local and a grassroots level.
Yeah.
NRA is an example of you, me and you as members of the NRA aren't going to get Wayne LaPierre to do anything. But you and I, as members of our local group, or we start a local group or whatever, we have control over that. We have a voice in that. And we also know where that money's being spent and where that priority lies. And it lies in our state. And that's where the fight has to be. All politics are local. Look, we've been blessed to be born and raised in America. We've been blessed to be here. But the founders laid down a list of things we had to do to make this work. And for a long time, we've all been on cruise control. We've been let other people fight the fight. We haven't had to go to town hall and city hall meetings. We haven't had to protest. We've had it pretty damn good. We didn't have dogs sicked on us. We haven't been sprayed by hoses. We didn't go through anything our forefathers have gone through in the 60s and the 70s. We didn't do that. Now it's time. Now it's our time to be a part of this. And we can do it because they don't know what to do with us when we stand up. You've seen it in the last 2-3 years. You've seen parents stand up at school boards and they freak the frick. Oh, you're terrorists. No. Terrorists attacked on 9/11. Terrorists took down buildings. This is a parent going, yeah, no, we're not going to do this. That's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to scare. See, that's why they're afraid. That's also another reason they want to disarm us. If we start exercising our powers and they can't put us down with violence or threats of violence, they lose all their power.
Absolutely. And so there's so much good stuff here. And I hope the people that are watching at home can pay attention to, the sincerity in his voice. He's literally living behind enemy lines like we are right now. I mean, they've transformed our state. And a lot of my broadcasts as of late, we've been talking about politics, how we change the momentum of what's happening in the state, because it seems like it's moving at light speed here. And what I really, really respect about you, Tony, is you're kind of echoing my thoughts, and you're actually have a different perspective, a different voice that they're not used to hearing. And so like, this is a really powerful conversation. I really, really appreciate it. And, we were, right now, currently, I've been getting into the Freedom of Information as, FOIA requests, right? And so I've been getting better at those. So I've been submitting FOIA requests for everything now. And so now I'm starting to figure out how much money the state of Oregon has spent in litigation in defense of unconstitutional gun laws. And so, I'm waiting to do a deep drop. I'm waiting on some more information because I'm going to name everybody that's taken money from the Attorney General's office. And so that's another thing that I'm working on. But we're talking over $1 million has been spent, and we haven't even gone to trial yet. And so they're basically using our tax revenue against us, all while they're pushing more anti-gun legislation in the legislature. And they kind of, like, the AG was in the in the legislature the other day, and the representatives on the floor were saying, "Oh, we're going to sue you," and she just kind of smirks because it's not her money, and
Uh-huh.
so that's her response, and I feel that that's going to be her downfall because we're going to turn the heat up here, and we're going to call them out and hold their feet to the fire when it comes to how they're spending money and misappropriating it. And so, from that being said, is we have to fill that breach, like what you said with Rebecca, and so that means we have to identify quality people that can run, people that can get involved at the school board level all the way to the Oregon legislature, and that's the only way we can change this stuff. And my question for you is since like the most radical gun control bill in the history probably of the country or the world with Measure 114, have you seen anything change in your state, like them trying to adopt parts of this?
It's the same. It's funny to me because it's the same. The same script is being used in every state. The same script is being used in every state. And when we say that, some people like to be the devil's advocate and go, "Oh no," I'm like, the same script is used to the point that in Nevada, they pass anti-gun laws that are illegal in Nevada, like can't be, like they just can't be applied. But they put it word for word. I think it was either a ballot initiative or somehow, but they passed it anyway. And the state attorney general went, "It makes no difference if you made this a law. It can't be applied here. We can't enforce it like it's written." And they are given marching orders. People are taking over. So yes, everything that you see, we've seen. Some of those 86 something, oh yes, it's the same thing. They're trying to ban everything and they're going to lose in court, but how many lives are going to be affected? So what you're seeing has been practiced here. It's been done in New York. It's gone through California. It hit Nevada and it's coming up the coast and they're just doing it everywhere. It's going to be in Colorado next. They're going to try to push it in places like Florida. See, they're losing ground legally. I mean, we're up to 27 states now with constitutional carry, and they're just getting beat like badly. So that's why they're going local. That's why they're pushing this, and that's why it's important for us to push back. It's the funny part. As an individual, we have power, but as a group, we have also voices and more power. I also work the election polls as a as a poll worker. They really has to be another way to say that. Anyway, but I have done that for the last 20
What
years.
kind of fits your thing?
Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? 20 years as a poll worker.
Yeah.
Hashtag largest pound for pound gun bunny in America. Um, and I work with one school board election where they had 625 registered voters in the district. 25 people voted total in the school board election. If you get together and you start your own group of you and 5 friends, it's not just 5 friends. It's the Johnson Street Collective Second Amendment Advocacy Association. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden now when you testify, you have more weight in that
Yeah.
testimony because you're part of an organization.
Yeah.
The sad part about Second Amendment organizations is they're infighting. I mean, I'm not going to act like it's not. There's bickering, infighting, one-upism, Johnson measuring, all the stuff that's just ridiculous and a waste of energy and time. You guys don't really have that organized there, and I think it'd be a good thing to skip that step and just go to working together because you're under threat and you got to be allies in this. So you got to hook up with hunting groups because, and I'll go ahead and use the term FUDs are a problem because they carry a lot of weight politically when they get together, but you can't make them give a crap about modern sporting rifles because somehow they think they're going to be left out of the mix. And I'm like, you're not. You're not going to be left out. You're just going to be last.
Absolutely.
And that's what you have to convince them that there is never going to be a time. Their goal, the agenda, is complete civilian disarmament. That's the agenda. The skill sets that you have as a hunter and the thought process they don't like because it's self-sufficiency. It's doing without the government. It's being able to feed your family without asking mother, may I? They don't like that. They're going to come after the hunter. So it's not your gun they have a problem with, it's your thought process and your ability. So yes, you have to team up with others. You're going to have to make this work. It's going to yeah, exactly. It's going to have to be an alliance of FUDs, liberals, leftists, weed heads,
Absolutely.
LGBTQ. And the best part about when you reach across these people is the commonality. Oh, that you care about communists? Let me explain something. I don't care if you're a communist, because one, you're never going to get enough of them to swing things. Sorry, but you suck. Your whole thing doesn't even work. But if you want to fight for our Second Amendment rights, good, because you believe in a lot of the same things I believe in. And so we might not agree how to get there, but we know there has to be a fight and we have to stand together to do it. And as long as you're teaching people that there can be no compromise on this, because they're never meeting us halfway. We've only given up rights. We've never gotten anything back. So that's what we have to do. We have to keep the fight up, keep the pressure on. 1933, you could order a belt-fed, water-cooled machine gun through the mail and have it dropped off at your house.
Yeah.
We have not gone back to any of that post 1934. It just not has, no. We've just lost all the way up. Incrementalism. We keep losing a little by little. Now we got to win it back little by little. The Bruin decision helped. Heller, McDonald, all of those helped win us back some of that. And we just got to keep beating them down like the losers they are.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. And so we're in the process of developing a new gun group here in Oregon. We're going through the legal process right now, but the whole point is it's going to align. Is that a bomb going off?
No, just the microwave in the other
Or
room.
your microwave? Okay, I was like, what is that? So, anyways, and so the whole point is to bring everybody together under one tent, right? So it doesn't matter how you align politically. We don't care. At the end of the day, we have one thing in common. That's our 2A. And so if we can come together under our 2A, that's how we're going to broaden the base. That's how we're going to make the changes that we need to make. And it's a process. A lot of it is this is like these listen and learn things that I thought about doing and now we're doing is to bring people like you that are experts in the grassroots field through your personal experience. And so, that's why we have to, figure out how we replicate this, what part works there, what part doesn't work. And a lot of it is this is like a big soundboard for me. Like I have 80,000 members here and we talk about, what works, what doesn't work when it comes to the messaging. I put something out. If it bombs, I was off target. If it does really well, I means I'm getting somewhere. I'm building some traction, right? And so, the mindset, there's a comment in here, like what I want people to understand is you might not like semi-automatic rifles. You might not like the black rifle. You might like the muzzle loader. You might like the pump action. You might like the lever action. The problem is the semi-automatic rifle is going to be the first one that they're going to take. Okay. And so what they're going to do after that is they're going to come for everything else. They're going to come for, the rifles, the bolt action, semi-autos, or the lever action, stuff like that. So, that's what we have to understand from a big picture standpoint. You're talking about civilian disarmament. That's what it truly is there is a globalist agenda. They want us eating bugs so they can get on their private jets and fly around there. And they want us in mass transit or electric vehicles while they get to go do whatever they want to do on our dime. And so, the one thing that prevents that, right, is an armed civilian population. And that's not necessarily a popular thing to talk about because nobody wants war. Nobody wants to have civil war, but we have a check and a balance here, right? We have the ability that we still have a say in things if we do them properly.
Our safeguard is the Second Amendment, because people always talk about that. That is the safeguard. That is the follow-up to, well, what are you going to do about it? Well, we're trying to get this done peacefully. We want to actually have our votes counted and our voices heard. But understand, we're not going to do this thing that you want us to do, because you push it as hard as you can. I also, one of the important things is to leave controversial stuff alone and just concentrate only on the Second Amendment. Because once we get in the weeds, we start losing people. So yeah, I want to talk about the stick. I want to talk about the jab, but I need to leave it alone because we're going to start losing people along the way. It's more important to fight for this Second Amendment right and leave all that crap at home. Now, because I've been doing this amount of time, because I was a firearms instructor and still continue to instruct, and not only that, but we came up with something called the Minuteman Challenge, which is introducing people to shooting sports. We just made up a shooting sport of our own. Actually, I stole it from Four Guys Guns, but I had permission to steal it from my ass whitey myself, who's with Four Guys Guns YouTube channel. And he was like, yeah, sure, take it. I don't care. So I knew people from different backgrounds who just wanted to shoot guns. And one of them showed up at one of my events with a, with a mega hat on. And I'm like, hey, Chris, look, you know, I don't care either way, but understand when someone comes into the range for the first time and they see you, a white dude, sitting here with a MAGA hat on, they don't know your wife's Asian. They don't know you cool as hell. They don't know that you've been providing ammo and guns for anybody who wants to shoot them regardless of their race. What they see is it's confirming the lies they've been told by the news and the friends of theirs in their social circle that everybody here is redneck. So could you lose the hat? And he was like, dude, I didn't even think about that. No problem. I apologize. I was like, don't apologize, dude, because I know you. I've been to your house. So, you know, I've eaten food with you. I know what you are. Just an idiot. And I love you. Take the fucking hat off. But it was cool because at the end of the day, my cousin that came up from Philly, she'd never been to an event like ours. Her and Chris are on the porch shooting his SIG 226, having a great time. It's like we've opened up the gates. When you just talk about the Second Amendment, you'll be fine. Don't call people names that you want as an ally. Don't poop on them, but don't be condescending and don't gang up on them when you're trying to build an alliance. And another thing that I've said, and I did it as a throwaway line, but people kind of like it. Meeting people halfway ain't going out of your comfort zone. You got to meet people at 60%. You have to go outside of your comfort zone to reach the people that you might not agree with in any way on anything other than the Second Amendment. Do it because it's worth it. We need to save this right. If we lose this, we go further. We will revert back to horrible times without the Second Amendment.
Are you guys hearing this? Are you I'm getting chills listening to this man talk, because this is everything that we're trying to do here as this group, right? I feel, because of my network of people that I know, like a gentleman like him, like I felt like we're on the right track. And this right here kind of reinforces that everything that everything that's up here in my mind, like I'm trying to lead you in the right way. And I feel like I'm on the right track here. And I'm really, really thankful for this opportunity to have it and share like this knowledge. And I hope that this is stuff that we can take notes. I mean, I'm gonna record this. This will be part of the group. We can study this and let's figure out how we use this. And one thing, like when I'm in the group, one thing I hate is I hate the term libtard. I literally hate that. When I see that, I see that it's pretty common. I know it's very easy to gang up on your opposition when they're not in the room. But when I see that in the group, it really, it just irks me so bad, because you're obviously you're in the echo chamber, you're saying stuff in the echo chamber. How are we going to build this alliance with people that you don't like and you call them this way? You know, how do you get that olive branch from the people that you need when it comes to saving our 2A rights? You know,
Robin Sandoval. What's the name of Robin's group? What's the name of Robin's?
A Girl and a Gun. A Girl and a Gun.
Robin's group is A Girl and a Gun. Robin would be described by some of the people in these groups as a libtard before she decided to get into firearms and learned about it. Tiffany Johnson, if you don't know Tiffany, she's Tiffany was with Range Masters.
Mhm.
She's one of his instructors. She's a great instructor. She's a lawyer. She's actually spoken on behalf of the Second Amendment and human right human right of self defense in front of the UN. Like, she is great, but she went to range masters to tell them about how wrong they were about firearms ownership. But she was going to take a class first to learn from that perspective, and then tell them how wrong they are. And she became one of their instructors eventually.
That's awesome.
So gatekeeping and calling names to people might shut down some of your biggest allies. These people have started organizations and touched thousands of others and brought them into this circle. Look, no one's perfect. God, I have sometimes you get so frustrated. You got to walk away. And maybe you also have to know yourself. And if you go, I don't care, screw those liberals, they shouldn't vote blue, it's their fault we're where we are now, then you don't need to be on the welcoming committee, all right? Understand yourself well enough to know that you aren't going to add to the conversation, because that's not how you built. And look, maybe you'll get there, maybe you won't. But you don't need to be that guy on the forefront if you can't handle that. I understand that frustration, but just look, step back, do something else, be a fundraiser, bring sandwiches. I don't know.
We have to evolve our thought process. And, that's what we're trying to do here. Right. So change, so last week we were up in Salem, right? So we had a hearing up there on the House floor vote. And so I organized some people to go up there. We met ahead of time. Obviously, nobody was in kit, nobody was in multicam. It was respectful, and we're positive. And we went into the building, and Moms Demand Action showed up, and so we made this wall so they couldn't get in the room until we got into the room, because there was a limited amount of seats. And I was really, really proud of my people there. And you could see they were actually taking the red shirts out of the plastic and putting it on in front of us. It was disgusting. And I get angry just thinking about it, because they're astroturfing, and here we are, grassroots. And these people, my friends that followed me up there, they took the time off work. They changed their schedules so they could be there, so they could put a face to Oregon gun owners. Because the Oregon legislature is always used to seeing these red shirts, and we showed up, and they didn't know what to do. We took them off script, and they're like, oh wow, so now we need to start listening. And so that's what we're trying to build here, is build this momentum, and turn this into something. So I really, really appreciate this conversation. This is great stuff.
Yeah, one of the important things we found, this is why I have the blue shirt on right now. This is royal blue. And what happened is, this is my tee. I don't sell it anymore because my guy has stepped back from doing that. I'll find somebody else to do them again one day. But our Second Amendment groups in Jersey all decided that we're going to do this color blue.
Okay.
So you can still have your logo on it, but we're going to do royal blue. So when we put our stuff on and walked in, because when you walk in regular civilian clothes, they can't tell you all together, and pictures are worth 1,000 words. So when the Moms Demand people come in with their red shirts, it's like, oh my God, the whole place is full of them. And it's like, no, I've seen them give those shirts. They give those shirts to homeless people in Atlanta during the NRA. They were passing them out to homeless people in the park, so it looked like there were a lot more of them. So when we all put on a blue shirt, when we all wear the same color, we all stand out as we're together. That's why DC Project has the teal shirts. It means something. It's a fight on every level. This is a culture war, and we have to be smart about how we do it. It's great to be passionate, but you also have to be smart. We have to use strategery. I'm sorry, but it was an opening for a George Bush word.
There you
We
go.
have to
It
use
wouldn't be
strategery.
prudent.
But we have to use our minds. We have to use the assets we had. It was a very diverse community. Moms at Arms, if you know who they are,
Yep.
Jill and those guys, she was actually in the marketing. She knows how this is done. We have assets in the community. That's one of the important parts of, we need to reach out to other groups and work together. We have to borrow and learn from them, because we don't have time for everybody to learn the same mistakes over and over again. We're in a fight. We're in a fight that we have to win. This is not just us. Understand this is a culture war. The more they beat us down here, the less your kids and your kids' kids will have to do with firearms, and that slowly kills the culture. We have to reverse this immediately. We have to get kids involved in safe firearms usage. They have to understand how the law works, as in how the country was set up, why the Second Amendment was there. And when people scream, these are weapons of war, they don't belong on the streets, I'm like, no, that was the entire purpose of the Second Amendment, was to have weapons of war in the hands of civilians. And I will not shy away from that. I cannot dance around that anymore. Yes, I should have a belt fed mounted to my Volvo station wagon. I should at least have the mounts up there in case things go sideways.
Absolutely.
I'm going to have a Swedish technical. So, my whole thing is we have to understand, we can't shy away from it. We have to use the real history. We also have to use emotions when we talk about our side, because that's what they use on their side. But there's also a lie, and some of their stuff is scripted. One of the funniest things I saw, because I've been in it since 2012, is they use the same script, but they didn't pay attention to an Asian lady told the story one time, and a white lady told the same story 4 years later. And I was like, wait a minute. Last time I was here, I heard this exact same story. And why do I remember it? Because it was too specific. It was, my friend was sitting on a stoop in Brooklyn, and someone came and pointed a loaded Glock 19 at his face and robbed him on the steps. And I'm like, who the heck besides a gun person would recognize somebody pointed a Glock 19 at him? And that was hilarious, because the next time I heard the story, it was a blonde white lady telling it. And I'm like,
so this is an important comment here, and I get where he's going with it, Alex. I really respect you, and I guess this is a generalization. I think generalizations are really, really dangerous, because there are liberals that don't live off tax dollars, and there are liberals that are just like us. Just because they don't identify with every part of our social structure doesn't make them less than one of us. And so that's another thing that I'm trying to change here is we can't get stuck in and put people in boxes. I hate boxes, because when we put people in boxes, obviously we limit their growth, but we also limit our growth as well. And everything that we're trying to do, and our, like, I'm going to make a hashtag, like my hashtag here for the group is fight forward. That's what we're doing. Is I'm not looking 1 year. I'm looking 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, generational, and that's where this fight's going to be won. It's not going to be won in the next 60 days. And so for the people that can't get a gun right now, we have to understand that it's going to take time for the courts to do what they need to do, and we're going to be better off because of it. We have to just be patient. The money that we want to spend on guns, we should be spending on sending it to attorneys to fight this fight for us. That's what we really should be doing. And so, when we start saying, liberal, like we're pushing people away. The goal here is there's not everybody's going to align with my opinion, and that's completely fine. But I do have commonalities, and that's where I'm going to build upon, is on those commonalities. And that's how I'm going to grow my base and turn 80,000 into 200,000. And now I have a force that I can work with. And so, that's kind of where I'm at. And I know, that's, where are you going with, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
in 5 years, I hope to actually figure out a way to have this franchise across the country, have 2A, 4E, and if not every state, regionally, so people can go between states and welcome people regardless of their background. Now, the sad part is going to have to be the optic. It's probably going to have to be some person of color, LGBTQ, because that's just the way it is. It's not fair. I think it's stupid, but there is no reason not to use that to our advantage, because we're going to have to win. We can't mess around. And as far as generalizations, don't do that to yourself, because what that does is cut you off from potential allies that you think are all this way, and you just screwed yourself. Because that's what the moms and man thought I was when I walked in from the parking garage with this big black guy can't possibly be pro-gun. Oh yeah, so we all stopped at what the heck was it, Starbucks, and it was such wonderful. I'm listening to these heifers, and then they were like my best friends walking in because I was black, so obviously I was an ally of the mom's demand. And we're riding up in the elevator, and they're talking about what a brunch they're gonna have after this is over, and I'm like, yeah, really, I like that restaurant too. We get into the assembly, the doors open. Okay, people know me. I'll
Yeah,
just go ahead and say that.
you're kind of a big
It
deal.
was yeah, I walked into the assembly when everybody was being seated, and this is before it even started. And it was like Norm walking to the cheers, dude. The whole side of the room that was pro gun was like, Tony. And all of a sudden, the flock of Karens I was with didn't want to hang out with me anymore. They all had somewhere else to go. I was like, we were having such a good time talking about having some Panera after it's over with, and now you don't want to hang out with
I
me
don't get any
anymore.
Panera. Oh,
So
oh.
yeah, don't put people in boxes because you may be chucking an ally away wholesale.
And so there's a comment, and this sounds so familiar. So a couple weeks ago, I was up there. It was me, and there was a couple folks there, but there was a lot of red shirts, and so they're all strutting around in the lobby before the doors opened up because they wanted to get this perfect photo op, right? And they're real proud, and they're strutting around. All their people are showing up. Well, as soon as it was time to open the doors, it was me and the leader. I won't mention her name, but we were right next to each other. And as soon as those doors opened, she made a beeline for the front seat, and so did I. And so she kind of turned this, to her left, and I went kind of behind her, and I sat down right next to her, and I just took the
Nice.
wind out of that room, and she was just like, she was the rest of the night. I totally destroyed their photo op, and now they have big, pictures of me, it's sitting right next to him, so it's stuff like that. It's like we have to get out of that comfort zone. I love what you said about, don't meet 50-50, you know come 60% if you're going to meet somebody in the middle. I really, that way we get out of our comfort zone. Everything I'm trying to do here is engage with people and get them, fighting forward, and that's what we're doing. And so I love the royal blue shirt idea. I think that's something I'm gonna steal from you if you don't mind, because I'm gonna print some shirts out so we all have the same color shirt, and we're gonna start building walls of people with royal blue shirts, and everywhere we go, and we're going to be loud and proud gun owners. And that's my vision. Or obviously it's open to interpretation, is if people support my vision, right? Is I'm a loud and proud gun owner. I have the Second Amendment tattooed on my forearm. It's something that's part of my life, and I've dedicated my life to service and obviously protecting kids and our 2A rights there. And so I'm going to be loud, and I'm not going to go away. I'm going to continue showing up. I'm going to continue doing the work. And fortunate for me, I have a lot of people that are with me now. And so now we're going to turn this into something. And so that's why these conversations with experts like you, my friends, are so important. And I'm glad this is going on.
It's important to get out there and get in this fight. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you the pitfalls. You will get tired. You'll
Yep.
get frustrated.
Yep.
And you have to know when to take a step back and let somebody else take over for a little bit, because you need a breather, because you can't make every rally. You won't make every rally because they set you up so you can't make every rally. Nice. They set
Oh,
you
that
up so
was
you can't make every rally.
and then we got her on TV too. It was amazing. So this is my friend Alicia Overstreet. She's amazing. She's amazing asset, and really a face for the people of color in our state. And so what we're doing is we're putting her to the front and letting her speak on our behalf, because she can do it very eloquently. And that's what we're going to do, is we're going to put the women up front, like what the DC Project does. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a tremendous. Us men have to kind of hold the rear, and because we I use a lot of brute force and ignorance, right? So a lot of like Hulk smack stuff, right? So
Yep.
I definitely, I want the women in our lives to be able to speak, because they can speak in a more passionate, eloquent way than some of us can. So
They can't be shouted down. because they're women. So they can't be shouted down as mansplaining because they're female. They can't be shouted down as being racist because she's a person of color. See, what you do is remove some of their power. Again, they love shoving us in those boxes. And if you break out of them, they can't hold you back. And I've said it at my events before. I think I even said it in Arizona when I spoke at their Second Amendment rally. It's time for the white male to take a step back and let other people start swinging. Finance it, support it, do all of that stuff, but understand they figured out a way to cancel you. Everything you say is somehow an ism, all right? Racism, sexism, isms, isms. Fine. You know what? Cool. Here's my friend Tony Simon. Here's my friend Maz Teray. Here's my friend
Yep.
Alicia. Do it. Do it. Support others. And also, these people will become your friends. You will break bread with them. You will find stuff in common. You can't deny it. Your life will become, knowing me will make your life richer. No, but what it does is bring other people with other perspectives into your life. So you may see something a different way than, like, you're fighting for the Second Amendment based on this. But now all of a sudden you learn the history of African Americans in the Second Amendment. You might not have known that before. You might have learned for the first time about the Tulsa riots. You may learn for the first time about places like Rosewood in Florida. That's very important because we have to win this not only on facts, but on passion. And people will bring that passion when they talk about the Trail of Tears, when they talk about how Hawaiians had their land stolen and were murdered by the government of the United States. You have to know that background. You have to know that history, and it has to be brought forward. And I think that's really important. And that's why you can't go, well, these people don't have jobs, because whoever these people are could be on your side. You just didn't know it, but you just insulted a crap ton of them. And they don't want to understand. Some people, even if they're pro gun, are coming to the thing going, a lot of these people in the gun community are racist, and they don't really need you reinforcing that when they walk into the door the first time.
Yeah. And so, I mean, one thing I want to address here is like, we're all busy. We all have families. We all have livelihoods. We all have things that we have to do in our everyday life. And I understand some of us are small business owners. I totally get it. I'm all of that. Right. But the thing is, it's not my fight to fight for your rights. It's not Tony's fight to fight for your rights. It's your right to be part of this. And so that's the only thing I was trying to do is empower people. If we can schedule a day off when we need to be there at the Capitol building, so we can stand together in blue shirts to send a message up there to get these people to finally listen to us. That's what we have to do. And that's all I've been trying to do. And I get some people can't do it. I totally get it. And I'm willing to be there for them and fill that gap, but I can't always. And so what I'm trying to do is you guys can do this if we just get involved. It takes, and I've always said, it just takes put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. Look, my family's small business. They started a small business. We had to be there 7 days a week. I was working 80 hours a week plus. But you can make it if you want to, because you make it to other things. You make it to your kid's softball game. You make it to other things that you want to make it to. Don't tell me you're the one mother son of a gun that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for a decade, because you're not. You go on vacations. I've seen your pictures online. You go to other places. You go to lunches. You go to dinners. You go to things. I understand you work a lot of hours. I do too. But you can make one event a year. You don't have to make every event. You can support them financially. You can post their stuff on social media. You don't have to be at everything, because no one wants you burned out. No one wants you to lose your job. No one wants you to lose your livelihood, because we need you. But please don't tell me you're busy 365 days a year.
Mic drop. And so obviously we're not shaming anyone, right? We value everybody's time. Okay. So that's not the whole point of this. The whole point of this conversation is for the light bulb to go on and say, what can I do to be a part of something that's going to be big if we continue to put in the work? That's what we're going with this conversation. And that's why, he's leading the way as the first guest here for this listen and learn, because I believe in him and what he does and what he stands for. And I'm glad to call him a friend. I'm glad to have him here to be able to share this message, which is really incredibly important right now in Oregon. And I'm getting chills talking about it because that's how I feel about this stuff. We're so close to making an impact here and stopping this stuff, but we have to show up.
And yeah, again, they designed this to screw you. I haven't been to some of these things because I can't take off work every time. And I'm not telling you to either. And it will be frustrating when you take off work and you make that sacrifice and you burn up that vacation day and then you go there and they vote against you anyway. Then you can get pissed off. Oh, believe me, you get pissed off. And I took a time out for a little bit. I had to step back. I didn't post anything for a little because I had to calm the hell down. But I got back in there. You don't have to get back. If it frustrates you so much that you don't even want to be a part of it anymore, then walk away.
Yeah.
There's no reason to go crazy over this stuff. But when you walk away, plan on coming back eventually. Understand this fight is generational. It is always going to be here. This is a fight that's been going on at least since 1934 with the National Firearms Act. So it's going to be here. We just need you now. If you can help financially, that'll be great. If you can't physically show up, because nobody can come to every one of these. I'm sorry, but you can't. And they do dirty pool, like tell you on Monday night that they have it at Wednesday morning. You might get a 24-hour notice.
Yep.
Yeah, they do that on purpose. And I don't expect anybody, because I have it. And I work in Trenton. And they're like, oh, I'm not taking, I don't care if it's 5 minutes down the road. I'm not taking the day off again to go sit and testify and then have these people vote against me again. But I will take 1 or 2 days off, but I will do what I'm doing right now. Like right now, tonight, I have you guys at 10 o'clock. I'm on with John Crump.
Oh, sweet.
Tomorrow, I might be on with Charlie and Matt from Meet the Presser.
Nice.
That's at 9 o'clock, but I'm also hosting the diversity shoot that doesn't end at 9 o'clock, doesn't end until 9. So I'll probably be doing it from the parking lot of Gun for Hire Range. I'm also, before the event starts, I'm on with TJ from Tactical Ish. I'm on with him with his podcast, Shots Fired. So I'm doing podcasts on each side of my diversity shoots. Do what you can. We're not telling you to quit your job. We're not telling you to freaking go into debt at all. But plan it out. Okay, I'm about to get corny.
Get corny.
The patriots that founded this country risked everything. They were 3%. They risked everything. They signed a document. Pretty much it might as well have been a warrant. Many of them died poor, had their family farms burned down, had their wives actually locked up and separated from them, and they spent the entire Revolutionary War hiding. I'm not asking you to do any of that. None of that, dude. And we're trying to do this so we won't have to do that. Us fighting now, using the system, using the things in place will help avoid that from happening again. We've had 2 civil wars in this country. First one was called the American Revolution, and then there was the American Civil War. But people fought people here in this country and destroyed the economy, had to build ourselves back, and it's going to be worse if we do it again. So anybody that says they hope this happens and they can't wait for it to kick off, they obviously never read a history book to know what's actually going to happen. We're doing this to avoid that. This is a cultural war for the foundation of this nation. That's how deep this runs. Do you want to be a part of it? What is the story you're going to tell? Everybody has that book they write in their head and they see themselves as something. Do you see yourself as Paul Revere? Do you see yourself as that person that's on the front edge? Or do you go, yeah, I was at work that day. Yeah, I was at work that day every time. Because what are you going to do?
That's amazing. So on that note, I hate to cut it, but it's been over an hour now. And I feel that if I don't get off here, I'm going to be here till tomorrow morning. But anyway, so where can people find out more about the stuff that you do? How can they follow you? Do you have a website? Do you have Instagram? Could you tell us all that so we can keep in touch?
All right, give you the rundown. We have diversityshoot.com. You can find me at diversityshoot.com. Right now, my little security thing has to be renewed, which was supposed to automatically renew. Now I got to make phone calls, whatever. You can find me on Instagram at Simon Says Train. You can find me on Facebook at Simon Says Train. Also, at The Second is for Everyone on Facebook, Second for Everyone on Twitter. I also have a podcast called The Second is for Everyone, 2A4E podcast. It's your favorite podcast app. So, yeah, you can listen to us on that. I'm also on the Firearms Radio Network and the Gun and Gear Review podcast, where I carry that entire network with my awesome talent and my great sense of humor. No, just joking. But yes, I'm on the
Tell Chad. Tag Chad.
yeah, speak to Chad. But yes, I'm on the Firearms Radio Network and the Gun and Gear Review podcast. We do a podcast every Tuesday. I'm also on the Firearms, Self-Defense Radio Network. And another show called Self-Defense Gun Stories, where we do 4 stories every week about civilian armed self-defense, and we rotate in instructors, self-defense instructors. We have like 6 of them. I think 4 women, 2 dudes, or 4 and 4. I don't know how it is, but it's a fun show worth listening to, if I say so myself, and I was glad to be allowed to be on it. So there's a bunch of ways you can hear me, and the reason I try to spread the word is because there's so many different aspects of the firearm community, and we really need to come together and start fighting a good fight.
And you're doing it, and I'm glad to have you here. So other than that, I think I'm going to get off here. I'm going to let him get back to his night because he's probably got another one to do. But I appreciate you taking the time to help us out here in Oregon, and we'll touch base. Yeah, go ahead.
We're doing a giveaway right now that's helping finance what I call the Great Plains Diversity Shoot Expedition. I had to come up with an awesome name. Black Battle Horse Knives actually donated this. This is called the Woodsman. It's O2 steel. They donated this with the sheath. It's $20 to enter. What I'm trying to do is raise the money to finish up this tour. We're going to be in Kansas, Wichita, Kansas on the 22nd. Those tickets are on eventbrite.com. Type in Tony Simon, the Diversity Shoot. It'll take you directly to eventbrite.com. And you can actually buy tickets for the event in Wichita, Kansas, 2A4E event. We're also going to be in Lincoln, Nebraska at Big Shots Range on the 23rd. So all those ticket sales are on Eventbrite. And I'm also at Thursday, I'm going to be at Gun for Hire Range in New Jersey, and next Thursday I'm going to be in Recoil Range in New Jersey. So we got 4 diversity shoots this month. We need your help financially. Please go to the website. You can donate on a PayPal. Just type in raffle, and I'll know what you do. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. I just wanted to get that out.
Yeah, no worries. Can you send me a link to that? And what I'll do is I'll put that in on YouTube, and I'll put it here. That way somebody can get involved. They can purchase directly there.
Yep.
And I'll put everything with. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll post your links into the group so people can follow you attached to this video. So everything will be there. So
cool. Appreciate it, man.
All right. Well, you have a great night. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I think we had a good first session. So, and we didn't yell and cuss and scream at each other. So that was good. So we'll see you again. Thanks. Have a good night.